to celebrate the life of Paul Warble, who lived on this earth for 73 years and now lives in a realm we shall all call home in the days to come. We come together in joy that he touched our lives with his love. But we also come together in sadness that he is gone from our midst. We come together in hope that our celebration will honor his life and ease our sorrow. My name is Dot Everhart, and I am one of the chaplains and the grief counselor at Hospice for All Seasons, located in Grantville, Pennsylvania. We serve families in a 9-county region here in central Pennsylvania, and it was through that capacity that I was introduced to Paul and some of his family. We typically only get to meet folks at the end of their days, weeks or months at the end of their lives. But we recognize that their lives often span decades, sometimes even scores of years before we get to know them. Our patients come from all walks of life, numerous religions, and many ethnic groups. But they all have in common that they are nearing the end of their lives on this earth and ask us to help them to ease their physical pain, to provide comfort for their emotional pain, and to guide them and their families as they move from this life into the next. It's an honor for us to do that, and it's a gift to us to share this sacred time with them and their families. Let us pray. Spirit of life and love, we're grateful for Paul's life. We're grateful for the many gifts you gave to him and the ways he shared them with others. We're grateful for his sense of humor and the good times when we laughed together. We're grateful for the skills he had and his work ethic. We're grateful for the many memories of him that will enrich our lives for years to come. For all these blessings in his life and ours, we give you thanks and praise. Amen. And now we'll hear the words to the Old Rugged Cross, and if you know them and want to sing along, you're welcome to do that.
And
make sure that your cell phones are on silent or that they're turned off so that you're not embarrassed by a crazy ringtone. This is a reading from John O'Donoghue, an Irish Catholic priest who wrote the book To Bless the Space Between Us. John, as a priest and poet, wrote blessings for many of the life experiences that we share as human beings. And he wrote this for those of us who grieve. When you lose someone you love, your life becomes strange. The ground beneath you gets fragile. Your thoughts make your eyes unsure, and some dead echo drags your voice down where words have no confidence. Your heart has grown heavy with loss, and though this loss has wounded others too, no one knows exactly what has been taken from you when the silence of absence deepens. Flickers of guilt kindle regret for all that was left unsaid or undone. There are days when you wake up happy again inside the fullness of life until the moment breaks and you are thrown back onto the black tide of loss. Days when you have your heart back, you are able to function well until in the midst of work or some encounter, suddenly with no warning, you are ambushed by grief. It becomes hard to trust yourself. Sorrow will remain faithful to itself more than you. It knows its way and will find the right time to pull and pull the rope of grief until that coiled hill of tears has reduced to its last drop. Gradually, you will learn to accept the acquaintance with the invisible form of your departed. And when the work of grief is done, the wound of loss will heal, and you will have learned to wean your eyes from that gap in the air and be able to enter the heart in your soul where your loved one has awaited your return all the time. These words of wisdom are written in the Old Testament book called Ecclesiastes in chapter 3. There is a time for everything and a season for every activity under heaven. A time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance. I'm going to share these words from Psalm 23. If you know them by heart and want to join in, you're welcome to do that. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. For you are with me, your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. I'm going to read the obituary for Paul, and after I read that, if you are interested and have a few words that you want to share with this gathered company, you are welcome to do that. You may come to the podium, speak in the microphone so that the recording will pick it up, and while you're here, you're welcome if you want to take your mask off so that folks can hear you. Paul David Warble Sr., 73 of Chambers Hill, passed away Sunday, October 4th, 2020, at his home. Born at his home in the Harrisburg area on January 1st, 1947, he was the son of the late Edgar R. and Arvella Wolfelsberger Warble. Paul retired as a carpenter from the former local 214 Carpenters Union, and in case you may have missed it, there's his hard hat. He was a member of the GTO Club. Paul was an outdoor enthusiast. He enjoyed hunting, fishing, and camping. He loved listening to Elvis, 50s music, and old school country. Paul also was an avid football and baseball fan and enjoyed coaching Little League baseball in his younger years. There's a listing of all of the family members who survived Paul and those who predeceased him. Is there anybody who has a memory or a story that you would like to share?
All right, well, first of all, I'll get my dissertation out here. So, when I was cleaning Dad's house, I tried to find something that would personify Dad, his personality, who he is. And he had a lot of art that's in the basement. But this one's the one that stood out to me. It has his name on it. American flag. He was a patriot. Loved the United States. Always told me, buy American, buy American. Little eyes here just to brought out his personality. He's got all these little stickers and fruit that I ate for lunch. Just my dad. I'll try to get through this as best I can. I'm sorry. Looks like a lot of pages. I can't even read half of it, so I gotta need my glasses too. It all sucks. Okay. All right. Pops, my dad, the man, the legend, the myth. All right. 11 years ago, Dad was diagnosed with a horrible disease that would ultimately take his life. At that moment, I saw a strong, tough man shattered like a piece of glass. However, I'm not going to spend my time on that, but rather the confident, determined man I knew for 49 years of my life. Thank you, babe. I just want to say a few things from my perspective about that. Dad was a hard worker. He always made sure we had what we needed, even if he had to work 3 jobs to make ends meet. And I love going with him on his moonlighting jobs, where I learned so much and really just got to spend time with my dad. Believe it or not, Dad took a job one time as a door-to-door salesman selling solar panels. And he took me one time with him, and I just thought, man, that's got to be the hardest thing to do, to go up to someone's house. Cold, that's when you can do it now, right? People got no soliciting signs, and you know, he just kept getting turned away, and just kept going. Just amazed me. But anyway, as I look back, I can say that I had an awesome childhood. Seemed like we were always doing something or going somewhere. I will forever miss the family cookouts. As a kid, it seemed like they were every weekend. And also the what was it, I called them the softball keggers, right? You know, playing out at Stoverdale, and it was just a great time because while the adults were doing their adult thing, us kids could like go and play, and it just seemed so much easier back then. Anyway, where am I at here? Cookouts, soon every weekend, and if we weren't at a cookout with family, we were night fishing for channel cat across from 3 Mile Island. I will always remember long trips to Tennessee to see Grandpa McNally, where Dad wouldn't stop for a bathroom break until we stopped for gas. I don't do that to my kids. We'll stop every half hour if we have to, but Dad coached my Little League team for a couple years. I remember this one story I want to tell you. We traveled to Veterans Stadium as a team to see the Phillies play. I believe it was the Astros, and this is when the Phillies were pretty good, I thought anyway. They had Steve Carlton, Mike Schmidt on the team. Well, about the 7th inning, me and a friend, and I can't remember the friend right now, we said we had to go to the bathroom, so Dad was like, all right, go ahead, hurry back. Well, then he comes, well, we went to go back to our seats. We couldn't find our seats. So we started walking around the stadium, in the Metro Stadium, on a big circle. Oh, there's that embarrassing ring. No. Anyway, so we started walking around trying to figure out where our seats were. Well, all of a sudden, the corridors started filling with people because the game had ended. And we started panicking, and long story short, about 20 minutes later, Dad did finally find us, and you know, Dad was pretty strict. I was expecting a ball whooping for that one. But I did. As a parent, I know that the sheer relief of finding me safe outweighed any anger that he had for me. And Timmy and I experienced that with Anya a few years back when we were down in, or was it Rehoboth Beach? We were in the arcade, I was playing a game, we turned around and Anya was gone. And I was in complete panic, so I know how he felt. Anyway, but one thing I hated about growing up was holding the flashlight for Dad. Whether it was working on the car, or something in the house, I could still hear it. Hold the light there, boy. Hold it right there. Don't move the light.
His father did that to him.
Yeah.
I had to do it too before you could do it.
Well,
Me too.
all I can say is what I would do to be able to hold that light for him. As I grew older, the flashlight faded, and I started doing my own thing, and we grew apart a little bit. However, Dad took up golfing, so we wouldn't drift too far apart. Golfing was something that I really loved. So, not too good at it, but I loved playing. I have many great golfing memories with Dad, and one bad I'll share. Most of you probably already know what that was going to be. My fondest golfing memories of Dad are the Myrtle Beach trips, which Dad took on upon himself organizing. Really, none of us had to lift the finger. Eight guys spending a weekend golfing doesn't get much better than that, except for one time when Dad knocked my front tooth out with a driver. For those of you who don't know the story real quick, I forget what day it was on a Saturday, I think it was our last day there. So maybe on the third or fourth hole, I had teed off the ball. I smoked at the time. I went down to pick up my cigarette. Just as I was picking up my cigarette, I saw this foreign object coming at me with no time to react. And it ultimately knocked this tooth out right here. But it did knock it out the whole way. It broke it off right at the gum line and was still hanging there. So every time I breathed, talked, anything, the nerve would pinch and I would get a shooting pain up in my neck. Fortunately, we had a small bottle of whiskey, which I proceeded to douse in my mouth. I played the best round that day out of the whole week. And just because of that, but anyway, here's the thing that got me after that happened, still on the tee box. Dad goes, I knew that was going to happen someday. And I was like, Dad, that's the last thing I would think that would happen in this situation. But yeah, I didn't let him live that down for a long time. He really felt bad about it. Let's see, Dad had, also just around golf, he had a special golf club. He had a golf club that he especially designed for long driving. What he did was he took a driver, drilled holes into the bottom of it, filled it with lead, and in addition to filling the club with lead, he also sharpened the edge so sharp that it was sharp as a deadly samurai sword. With the idea being that when he swung the club, the sharpened blade would cut through the grass, reducing any resistance to getting to the ball, and then with the lead-weighted club, would smash it from here until next week. In practical terms, what happened was when he hit the ball, it sliced the ball almost in half. Cut 20 yards of grass in the meantime, and the ball only went like 10 yards. And probably give you a bad back after time as well. Let's see. So I think with all that, and I could probably stand here and talk for an hour, and that would be no fun. Just a couple things that Dad had instilled in me. And make sure. No, there's just a couple other things. Before I talk about what he instilled in me. Just a couple things about Dad. I told you he already had a great work ethic. He also did whatever he needed to do to support his family. He also had compassion and empathy for others. He welcomed countless people into his house, not only to visit, but also to live there, and family, friends, and I know even sometimes it was strangers that he welcomed. The thing I was most impressed with about my dad was his creativity and ingenuity. I think a lot of it just came out of necessity from how he was raised. You know, I know you guys didn't have a lot growing up, and a lot of things just came down to necessity. But just the things I learned from him over the years, you know, like when it came to the alternator going bad in the car, I'd be like, hey, Dad, let's just go get a new one. And he'd be like, nope, we're going to rebuild it. We're going to go get some brushes, and we're going to rebuild it. And we did. We would go there, and we would save probably a quarter, 3/4 of the cost it would take. I think the one thing I was also impressed with, and Bob, Uncle Bob, I know you had a big part in it, was building the pig roast spit, basically out of bicycle parts, an old tractor that had been sitting in the yard for I don't know how many years, and dryer parts. I think there was a dryer motor used to move the chain or what have you, but it just always amazed me, the skill that he had with his hands. And you know, there was a time I wanted to get into what he was doing, but one of the things he always told me was use your brain, not your brawn. Not that he had anything against the trades, he just wanted me to do better. He was fair. He always told me I'll help anyone as long as they're willing to help themselves. countless times where he did that throughout his life. He was not perfect. Dad made many mistakes and bad choices throughout his life, but he did his best to learn from them and not repeat them. Okay. Last, just a couple things that Dad instilled in me. Good work ethic. He led by example, always told me to work hard and play later, or should I say play hard as well, because Dad liked to play hard as well. Always treat a woman with respect, hold the door, open the door, never ever hit a woman. And finally, do what they say. This one hasn't caught on yet. Still working on that. And then I also mentioned, he said, use your brain, not your brawn. Dad wanted a better life for me, and if he wouldn't have pushed this idea, I don't think I would have went to college and be where I am today, because I'm not a bookworm of a person. I like to learn by doing. And then also, just appreciate what you have. Like, that's the one thing I learned with Dad is, I very rarely, I don't think I ever heard him complain about what he had. So today I have a beautiful family and wonderful memories. I can honestly say that I would not have become the man that I am today without the love and support of my dad. I love you, Pops, and we'll miss you dearly. Thank you.
Well, I echo most everything my brother said. And I did learn a lot from my dad, like, do not stop when you're traveling to go to the bathroom unless you get gas. I don't stop for my kids. They go before we leave. They stop they go when we get gas, and they'll tell you that. I've also got my dad's temper, as many of y'all know. But my brother covered the dad that he was, and he was an amazing dad. But he was even a better grandfather to our kids. He took Jimmy and Daniel to the beach every week, or for a week in the summer. He watched the kids whenever we needed him to. He spent time with them. He taught them everything that he taught me as a kid, like how to find worms in the mud at night for fishing. He had 11 grandkids. Only 2 of them ever got spankings, which I don't understand because all 4 of us kids got lickings. But, and it was Lexi and Jimmy. Yes, the 2 you wouldn't think. But I'll tell you why they got a spanking from my dad. Like PJ said, when you lose a child, you can't find them, that's a scary thing. And both times Jimmy had hidden from my dad, he could not find him. And Lexi had hid from my dad, and he could not find her. So that was why they got in trouble. That was why they got a licking. But he was so patient from the time that they were born. Through everything that, your kids grow up and they make mistakes, they make bad choices. But he never lost patience with them. He taught them what he had taught us as kids. And I feel blessed. I know I'm blessed that my kids have him for as long as they did, because he was amazing.
So I'm speaking for my father, Kevin, who's not feeling too well and couldn't make it, so this is his words. When the day I asked for his blessing to marry his beautiful daughter, Paul has been like a father to me. Right after that, he walked me around his front yard, offering nuggets of knowledge based on his experience as a father. He told me the good things he learned and also the bad. I'll never forget that talk. Paul taught me many of his tricks of trade, of which he was a master. He showed me how to install doors and windows, He also showed me how to use a coping saw to make perfect lighter joints. I never did perfect this art like him, but I learned enough to walk around my own job sites now and tell carpenters, you're doing that all wrong. We also played countless rounds of golf. When Paul decided he was going to learn a sport, he meant it. When he realized he couldn't hit the ball as far as the younger duffers, he took matters into his own hands and created the first lead-filled driver. When he believed the grass would drag in his club head, he again moved boldly forward and created the first fairway wood with a knife blade edge. This will cut the grass, he proclaimed. Above all, Paul is just a great guy to be around. Always a smile, always a joke, open to try anything new. He accepted me into his family like I was always a part of it. I will always be grateful for the two most important gifts someone can give. He gave me wisdom through his own experiences, and gave me the most precious gift of all, my wife. Thank you, Paul, for all the things you've done for me. Go gently into that good night, and may your body now get the rest that it deserves.
My one of our friend's mom said if you drink water, you won't cry, so I'm gonna try. My brother Paul was the best brother we could ask for. He was part of the glue that kept our family together. Like PJ said, all the cookouts in the backyard, his pig roast, they were open to friends. People brought friends of friends. There were strangers there that my brother didn't know, but he was okay with it. Everyone was welcome. I lived with my brother to finish high school. Sometimes all we had was each other, and we always helped each other. My brother Paul, after his second wife left, he needed my help, so he would come down to my house to eat dinner with me a lot, with me and Gary. He helped Gary with projects around the house, different things. My brother even decided he'd go to yoga with me for 3-4 years. He didn't care, he'd give it a try. He actually ended up enjoying it. The lady that we had, he liked her, the yoga instructor, DJ, he called her Rubber Woman. So he could always find something positive, interesting to do. So he used to always tell me when I lived with him, if I was bad, he'd read about me in the paper. And he read the paper every single day. So, luckily, I guess I was good. The only time he ever read about me in the paper was when he walked, after I got married, and he walked me down the aisle. But he was the best brother to all of us. Dear Brother Paul, I'm going to miss you. You've been a big part of my life for 63 years. I love you so much. God rest your soul.
Yeah. I think it works better if you have vodka in your bottle.
Paul would agree to that.
Blackberry brandy.
And I think that somehow my dad and your dad would be related because we were never allowed to stop when we were on a trip until he had to go to the bathroom, heart gas, up until he had his first heart attack and then was on diuretic. And then there was every excuse to stop. I think we need to look at this flea market up here. I think we need to do this kind of thing. So I'm not really sure where that comes from, but it seems to have affected lots of folks. This is a poem written by Douglas McFadden, who was an Army veteran. He served a 22-year career, retiring as a sergeant first class. words of advice for us. Don't remember me with sadness. Don't remember me with tears. Remember all the laughter we've shared throughout the years. Now I am contented that my life, it was worthwhile, knowing as I passed along the way, I made somebody smile. When you are walking down the street and you've got me on your mind, I'm walking in your footsteps, only half a step behind. So please don't be unhappy just because I'm out of sight. Remember that I'm with you each morning, noon, and night. When we cannot see a loved one in physical form after they pass, we often feel that they are no longer with us. We forget that the spirit or soul is pure energy. And unlike our earthly physical body, which dies and eventually decays, our souls continue on in a form we do not fully comprehend. Jesuit priest Pierre Teilhard de Chardin reminds us that we are not human beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. It's often a challenge for us to remember this, so I encourage you to hear Paul whispering to you, remember that I'm with you each morning, noon, and night. I invite you to, I'm going to offer a prayer, and at the end of the prayer, I'm going to invite you to join me with the Lord's Prayer as it's printed in our little folder using trespasses and trespass. Spirit of life and love, help us to recall that you are that love which is holding us, that you are bigger and broader and deeper than any of us can imagine. In this strong love, we will grieve that Paul is gone from our physical reality. In this deep love, help us always to remember that his Spirit remains with us still. In this true love, let us continue to do the work for justice, healing, and peace that still remains to be completed. In this eternal love, may we find the peace we need to carry on. Depart now in peace and know that this love will sustain you in all of the days to come. As we join together in praying the way Jesus taught us to pray, saying, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Now we're going to hear the words of Amazing Grace, and if you know the song and want to join in together, you are welcome to do that.
Mm-hmm.